Hi, I'm Annalisa with Reece Homes. I was the listing agent for the property that went pending on Burke Avenue just last week. And today I'm going to walk you through the planning, strategy, and outcome of that listing. Hopefully, it will encourage you to see what kind of great activity you have in your neighborhood if you're interested about selling or making a move in the near future. As with any new seller, we always do a pretty in-depth consultation. We learned quickly that these sellers had been told that it was important for them to put in about $200,000 in order to update the house and bring it to market, both with it being the holidays and then moving out of state. And just that's an overwhelming thing to put on people. I could see right away that that is one thing they did not want to do. So, both because of capital, timeline, and just overall stress, we decided to focus on the most imperative areas that would give them the greatest return on investment, which was refinishing the floors, giving a fresh coat of paint, updating their landscaping because it was midwinter, and then just taking care of a couple of repairs. So instead of that $200,000 plus recommendation that they had heard from another agent, we stayed focused on the areas that we could control that would cost far less, and they ended up spending a little less than $15,000 to get the house in a really good spot for market. From there, we brought in our cleaning crew. We always think it's a great service to offer when people have already moved out to not have to go back in and clean all the cupboards and the refrigerators. So we have our cleaning crew come in and take care of it for you. And then, of course, our wonderful photographers that do virtual tours, drone shots, the traditional beautiful photography, and also photos for social media. And from there, we were also giving them updates throughout the whole process, starting at the end of October all the way through the last week of January when we came on market to look at how the market was moving between the holidays and January. Part of considering that pricing was really helpful for our clients because the market does shift quite a bit between December and January. And this is something that they were really pleased to see the data, understand the data, and have a better idea of what they could expect once they brought their home to market. We often see the market shift a little bit between January and December because people just aren't as active during the holidays naturally, but that was doubled down and kind of compounded because of the election, just a far lesser buyer demand during that time. So looking at those comps were helpful instead of baseline, but we knew we would see greater buyer activity. Our pricing was very thoughtful. We wanted to make sure we were staying within an appraisal zone, but also knew that we didn't want to underprice ourselves and miss an audience, and make sure that we would get the most amount of dollar for that home as possible. So that was a very strategic plan to start at 995, and also know that we would probably at least get 50K over that, based upon the amount of demand we are seeing in the market over the last 2 weeks. Not only that was did we do that, but we also put in an offer review date that encouraged the buyers to know that this is a hot home and they need to get their ducks in a row and check out this house as soon as possible. That is just a really simple tactic that we use in order to incentivize buyers to get after this and see this house as soon as possible. We're also fortunate enough to have the Keller Williams exposure on a global scale. Since we are a global company, that we were able to have exposure for people maybe shopping out of country or out of state, as well as the traditional avenues and posting on our social media platforms, as well as capitalizing on all the old school ways, which is door knocking in your neighborhood, inviting people to open houses and holding two open houses. That just creates a really high sense of energy with cars coming and going. So if you're a buyer and you're driving past and you're constantly seeing people into the house, it just creates this awesome flurry of excitement that usually drives demand for buying. All of this said, the planning, the preparation, really looking at numbers, having a really good sense of how the market was turning, we were able to generate 20 private showings in 3 days, over 2,000 views for the Northwest MLS and Zillow. We had two very busy open houses. We had an early offer on the first day. That was great. It was overpriced. However, we decided that we wanted to hold because we were just seeing too many indicators that we were going to get an even stronger offer if we waited. We had 7 very interested buyer agents reaching out to me constantly through those first 2 days. And by the end of Friday evening, we had 4 offers in hand that were incredibly aggressive. We are in contract in 3 days compared to the King County median average of 27, which made our sellers incredibly happy. And while I can't share you the final purchase price until we are closed at the end of February, I can let you know that it sold for over 15% of what the list price was. If you look at the median percent of list price to sale price, this is a great metric we look at as agents. 100% would be just what you listed the home at. You can see the last time we saw homes sell over 110% was right before interest rates dipped. So it was right around May of 2022 when we saw rates change from the fours up to the sevens. That's right when that shift happened. So them getting 115% being in this area where most homes in zip code 98133 are landing in 96% of their list price made them really happy. Both timeline and the amount of purchase price that they were able to pull in was a really great success. And none of this happens unless you have a seasoned broker who goes after the negotiating. I think that some people just think that this falls in your lap, but we like to think of offers coming in as Lego pieces where we can try and get the best offer put together for our seller by ensuring that we're pricing things correctly, but also having conversations with listing agents of what our seller really wants in order to accept an offer. So part of this was patience, not going after the very first offer that came through the door. Some people think that's a hero move to be closed and in contract in one day. We do not. In general, that's not the best move. We know that if you wait 2 or 3 days, that's really enough time for any active buyer who is working with an agent and is pre-approved. They need at least 2 days for them to see the market and then make a move or have the chance to play ball. We called a little over 50 agents in the span of 24 hours to make sure that anyone that wanted to throw their hat in the ring who had seen, liked, favorited, or expressed interest had their opportunity to also submit an offer. And outside of getting the biggest pile of cash at their front door that was more exceeded what they had hoped for, a big piece of the negotiating that I provided for them was to make sure that all contingencies were waived so that the buyers had no room to wiggle out of the contract or renegotiate terms. That is something that is not looked at very often from a seller or just market perspective. It's very important not only to have that cash, but also have that security. Fun fact, these sellers bought in 2013 and their home almost tripled in value during that timeline from buying to selling with very little cosmetic updating. They did hardly any. They did some stuff with the fence and some basic things with systems, but that is an incredible thing to consider if you have been thinking about putting your house in the market or would like to know what kind of equity your house has gained over the last decade. So if you have any questions or would like an evaluation of your home or know what kind of activity in your area could happen, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to talk with you.